Alright, the Twitch stream is now back on, and I think my mic is working now, even though it was literally working, and then it stopped for 1 second
For
some
like
reason.
2 hours, yeah.
Oh shit, it's MD.
Hello, everyone.
I'm streaming the Twitch window. Nice. We're all discombobulated today.
We're just still recovering from holiday.
How did everyone enjoy their holidays?
I'm dead.
Or possibly still enjoying?
It was good. There was only one fight, and it's to be expected. So it's pretty good, honestly. Didn't eat until 7 p.m. because the bread wouldn't rise, and you have to have homemade bread on Christmas, at least in my book.
I know we got 3 more days of Kwanzaa.
Yeah. I know all about that.
Kwanzaa's made up.
All holidays are made up, my dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Kwanzaa is really made up, though, to be fair.
They all are.
I mean, like, it's like a very recent made-up holiday. As in the holiday is, like, 60 years old.
Whatever.
Whatever floats people's boats, though. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah. Honestly,
Anyways,
like, whatever you
we
gotta
should get started.
Yeah, one sec.
Don't
Let me
be,
open up the stream on my other
holiday,
tab here.
Don't be a holiday fun sucker.
I'm not holiday shaming.
Gotta check your holiday privilege. Alright, now I have the stream open in a different tab so I can see chat if anything happens in chat. Alright, so usually on these streams we start off with topics first and then get into the log review, but what we're going to do today is we're going to start with the log review and then we'll work out from that.
Especially now that, like, there's somebody racing down my street. Now that, like, the patch has been out and everything, we kind of can go over how things are working out too, and hopefully use the log to tie into figuring out, where to go with everything.
As we find things that you can, the person that submitted the log to the stream can improve on, we'll start talking on how to use the resources to get better at that specific thing and how to not use the resources, because you can just look at a graph and go, yeah, that's okay, yeah, that's the best. It's not how it works, especially for our spec.
Alright, so for this week, our winner has chosen to remain anonymous, so we're gonna do our best here to keep it anonymous. So this is a kill from Talic Mythic, and just to note, this kill is from December 5th, so this was the week before the patch came out. So you'll see here it says Light's Decree, but that's not actually Light's Decree, that's Zealotry. Because remember, before the patch, we had Zealotry instead. It was running a Zealotry, Avenger's Might, and Archive of the Titan. So just doing what we normally do, we go over the gear first. It's got those traits. For his talents, he was running Righteous Verdict, Blade of Wrath, Wake, and Inquisition, which is a pretty odd setup. I mean, it's not horrible, just it's not an ideal setup. Or it wasn't then, and it's not as ideal now.
Still not.
It's a little bit better now, but not ideal still. So mostly running 370 gear. His weapon's a bit low at 355. He's got his stuff enchanted. He has gems. He's decently well prepared for his character. His neck level is fine. So first thing that we went ahead and did, we did some sims, but these sims, they are for the new patch, obviously, so it's not an entirely perfect ideal scenario, but
We did, to be fair, get like the Simcraft string, and we went ahead and looked at the talents that he's using more recently. Try to go.
Yeah, so some of his gear here is still the same. Some of it's a bit different. The Azurite's a bit different now. So one thing that he'd want to do, we reran his character. Like, this is the gear setup. If you're watching us, definitely put your ear string in top gear and some of your other Azurite pieces. So one thing you'll notice that the talent, it definitely recommends that Hammer or Wrath be used over Blade. We scroll down here, we could probably find it. Or maybe not.
I think it was on next one that you did.
Yeah, this is we have a couple sims up, but this is like just a general idea. Like, this is how far down the list that Blade is, like with all the gear. So, but to make the talent comparison a bit clearer, we ran a second sim here with this top gear, which is here, so we can see how the talents compare. How some of the talents line up. Like, see, like Crusade, not that big of a drop to swap from Ink to Crusade if you like Crusade better. Zeal dropping from RV to Zeal, not too large of a drop, still only less than 1%, and some different combinations there. You can see that here's just the blade and hammer swap. That blade was a 2.8% drop, or about 460 something DPS. So it's definitely a decent sized gap between blade and hammer. But if you do want to use blade, there are some different talent choices here that you could swap to instead that'll give you a better performance than just blade.
Yeah, because like if you're really opposed to using hammer, like you can probably make it work, especially like if you're just kind of dipping your toes into the mythic.
Especially if, as we're gonna see later on, if you don't get a perfect handle on how to use Inquisition. That's the options. Like all the 3 talents should seem within each other given the specific talent combination. So if you're not comfortable, there's other stuff you can try to learn. Even though I highly advise that you give it time to practice every single talent and talent combination, because it's most likely that you're gonna end up in this expansion at one point using all 3 of them eventually.
Yep, definitely. So it's always good to try new things to get used to them, but if you're finding you're having a hard time with one, definitely swap to another. Or at least on no progress-oriented fights for sure. And then as you get into farm, maybe on farm you can experiment a bit more and try to get more used to other talent combinations.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like using a less optimal setup better is gonna kill the boss. You know, like living and hitting your buttons is gonna kill the boss, and if you are too distracted by living to keep things like Inquisition up, or you don't want to add another keybind with Hammer of Wrath, like that's fine. You know, just kill the boss and then like figure out how to do that, how to manage the other talents on, you know, easier stuff, normal or LFR or dummy.
Yeah, so we'll just use the analyzer here and get a quick overview. Like, he's using Inquisition, and for Inquisition, we were sitting at an 84% buff damage or 84.5% buff damage, which is definitely on the lower side when your Inquisition benefit is below 99 or 98%. Those other talents are automatically going to be pretty much a better choice.
And there's like, if you're in the moment and you need to just kill the boss, there's no shame in just being like, I can't deal with this right now. I'll figure out how to do better later. But for now, like, I need to make things a little more simple. There's no shame in that. Bosses just gotta die.
Yeah. Even, I know someone's probably going to go, oh, but that's Salak, so there's some downtime, so Inquisition is going to drop. It shouldn't drop to those levels. Even with the elevator going on.
The elevator's what? A minute? And
even then, like, you can still farm some holy power to re-up.
Yeah, like
Inquisition.
as someone who plays Inquisition or was playing Inquisition on every fight, you can keep it up on the elevator. It's not hard to maintain. Like the most important thing is if your Inquisition is dropping off before the elevator begins, just wait a few seconds before you refresh it. Because remember, you don't need 3 holy power for Inquisition, though it's ideal. On the elevator is a spot where it's a bit more lenient because those ads don't last very long.
Yeah.
So you might use those 1 or 2 holy power Inquisitions there, possibly.
And when he is dropping Inquisition, it's like he didn't put it up for like, was it 15-20 seconds at the beginning of the?
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. But
yeah,
let's stay on like the same line of the talents here, like using optimal talents. Like he was also using Righteous Vengeance. The Righteous Vengeance is our highest simming single target talent, and the WoW Analyzer does give us a good overview here of how it was used. So we can see here that the total damage contribution was 2.31%, and only 46% of the Templar's verdicts were buffed by this. So it wasn't an ideal use of this talent. It was definitely far off from where it should be. So in this case, using Zeal would have been a large benefit to DPS in a scenario like this, where you're not making optimal use of the optimal talent.
Hell, I'm gonna throw an Hail Mary and say that Execution Sentence would probably even be a high upgrade, especially if he's having problems staying on the boss, moving away and stuff. But,
yeah, it's a good one too, but again, it does fall into the factor of it's another keybind to use.
No.
So
yeah, exactly. Like it's yeah.
Because really, like when you're looking at low uptime like this on Righteous Verdict, it's because he's just kind of freaking out, not really hitting the boss as much.
Yeah, and as mentioned earlier, this log is from the 5th, and Light's Decree replaced Zealotry, so this is actually Zealotry, which is why the Light's Decree is kind of there, and it says 0, so you can ignore that, just to point out there. Because again, this log is before the patch. Yeah, but usually after that's when we jump into the opener. And we can just do that from here. So we've got our timeline here. We got the wings and potion used. What happened? The potion was used in combat, so missed out on that pre-potion benefit there, using a second one later. And from the opener, you can see he went wings into wake into TV. And one of the newer features here of WoW Analyzer is that you can see there's Inquisition here, and there's a red box around it. And if you mouse over it, it'll actually let you know. It says, you refreshed Inquisition during Avenging Wrath. It is better to refresh early before Avenging Wrath, so you can spend holy power on damage it. And in the opener, this is where it would be a different opener. You wouldn't go to wings right away. Your ideal opener would be Blade, Judgment, Inquisition, and then you would go wings, wake, TV, and go on from there. And the guides that we have in the FAQ do cover openers, and we'll reference some of those a bit later as well. We'll get more into that.
He did at least use wake inside of wings, which is like obviously you want to keep doing that. And if you do the blade and then judge Inquisition, you'll go into wings with no holy power, and you should be able to hit wake.
Yeah, so one thing that's also nice about Analyzer we can look at is other times that he used wings from the cooldowns tab here. So we can see we got 3 uses of wings in this fight. He could have potentially gotten 4 in, but the last wings wasn't quite in. He also did die at the end there, though, so it lost time to cast wings there. So we can see here the second set of wings. This was used on the elevator. And he didn't get very many globals inside those wings. So he did not hit that many targets. There's just lots of downtime. And the elevator is a pretty slow phase. And depending on your guild, those ads might die pretty fast sometimes. But in this case, this was a decently long kill of Talak. it was 6.5 minutes, so those ads do live a little bit. So you definitely want to leverage your abilities the best you can to hit those ads. It's okay to walk in the blood for a moment. The blood's not going to one-shot you or two-shot you or three-shot you. It takes a little bit slow. The most important thing is staying alive and avoiding the lasers, and you didn't die to lasers, so we did that good, so don't have to worry about that. But you don't want to focus only on the lasers and then just stand there the whole time not attacking. You have to try to do both.
I'm gonna take that point and actually raise something that I saw in the logs that it does also need to get better at. Not only is blood not gonna kill you, you have Shield of Vengeance. You got 0 gain from DPS from Shield of Vengeance. You can easily stay some seconds in the blood, pop the shield, and leave. One thing that I did see in your logs and we saw in your logs as a whole is you are very. It's like we can tell you're new to the raiding scene. You can tell you got thrown in the deep end and you didn't know what to expect. But you are way too careful. You don't need to be this careful. You don't need to have this high of a downtime on things.
Yeah, there's a few things that we can definitely highlight a bit later as well, where being overly cautious is occurring. Yeah, but as far as like in chat, they're talking about missing a pre-pot. If you miss a pre-pot, like how much benefit you get also depends if Lust is at the start. In this case, Lust wasn't used at the start, so it wasn't that large. But if you miss a pre-pot and in Lust that you only get 1 pot, that could be 200 DPS or so overall. So I mean, 200 DPS maybe it's worth it to you, maybe it's not. But if you can do 200 more DPS, you may as well do 200 more DPS. You shouldn't feel horrible if you miss it though. Like it's not that.
It happens
it's not
to
make
everyone.
or break.
And especially because it's like it's just out of your control, really, or it can be. If somebody just pulls early, you're just like, well.
Yeah, it turns out you have a mage or a boomkin or a shaman that can't count. So they precast their spell and it hits target before the timer is done.
That's why I always pre-pot way early by mistake. Don't do that. It's not advice. Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah,
so we also had our third set of wings here. Again, the third set of wings, there was a lot of downtime. After using wings, it was another 3.5 seconds until the first ability was used. That's multiple global cooldowns, just not touching your abilities. And if you're going to be active as much as possible in a fight, the most important time is during your cooldowns or during Avenging Wrath. Our time in our cooldowns, it's not as impactful as it was in Legion, but that's still where most of our damage comes from. And as far as using a pre-pot, because I got a question here in PM, you want to use your pre-pot 1 second or 2 seconds before the pull. No more than that. Just a second or 2 before, so it goes on cooldown. So later in the fight, you can get that second potion in.
Yeah, Tensa Wooly, Protestant hold wings for Seraphim. Do Reds do anything similar, like holding wake on wings to wind them up?
That's like the question where you can't say yes or no. That's where you have to look at it. Like in that fight, if you choose to delay something, are you losing a cast of it? And you have to see is losing a cast worth it? Like if it's only on a single target scenario, losing a cast is an automatic loss. If it's an AoE scenario, then delaying is a good idea, such as Zekwaz.
Not only on AoE scenarios, but as MB was saying on proc, for example, I was mostly on the small lad in Fetid, so I would save Wake for like priority damage situations.
Yeah, where you need to save it or like in one die. Because I did the same. I was on small lads as well. I would use my first wake on cooldown in Fetid, and then every other wake was saved. Like I'm not every other, every wake was saved for the small ad. Because it lined up like that, and it was needed to make sure the small ads died for me. So.
Yeah, so like optimizing your damage is obviously different than doing what's best for the because that feels bad. You know, you just want to hit that thing, but ads need to die.
Yeah. However, in the single target situation where there's no priority damage, holding Wake just to line up with Wings is usually, and I'm gonna say most likely, not worth it. You want to use it as soon as you can, even if it means wasting one.
You don't want to lose a cast of either.
Yeah, so we're gonna head back to the timeline here, and we'll go in like more of the rotation, some of the things. We'll tie in some of these items up here. So we went over the opener there. And on the fight, he was already in combat, so you want to make sure that you're prioritizing Blade over Judgment when it won't overcap your Holy Power. In this case, you were at 5. You used 3. You got 2 Holy Power, so you could have... In this case, you would have used Blade first in this opener, but ideally you would use a different opener, like we mentioned earlier, going to Blade Judge. But in cases like this, where both Judgment and Blade are off cooldown, Blade does have a higher priority, unless that 2 Holy Power would overcap your Holy Power. Because right now, for all skills aside from Wake, you don't want to overcap Holy Power, and we'll get into that a bit later here. So one of the things we mentioned was Inquisition there. It was refreshed inside Wings. It was not an ideal cast. I can see here, there's some more spots here where Judgment was prioritized over Blade. Again, you want your Judgment to come after Blade, because the way it works is that the base cooldown of Judgment is 12 seconds. The base cooldown of Blade is 10.5. And both these abilities, in terms of global cooldowns, this is 6 global cooldowns for Blade and 7 global cooldowns for Judgment. So if you use Judgment first, and that means there's now 6 global cooldowns remaining, and then you hit Blade, which is a 6 global cooldown spell, they'll both come off of cooldown at the same time, and they can clash. Now, obviously, Blade, he's playing Blade of Wrath, but there's also Art of War. There's the chance for your Blade to get reset, but you still want to avoid potential clash situation.
And before I forget, he did use Inquisition with only 1 Holy Power here, it looks like, and something like you really, really want. It's only 15 seconds on it, looks
like. Yeah. Can you go? Actually, let me check.
Yeah, like we'll get into it. Like if we scroll over here, we can see where he is going. Like Judgment, Blade, and then Wake. So we're then Crusader Strike. So we're definitely seeing some overcapping there. It's a bit heavy in terms of overcap, but we can see we got some large gaps here of time. Just a giant gap there.
It kind of just looks like he might want to figure out a better way to track his Holy.
Yeah, definitely using a weak aura of some sort if you need to. And one thing here we can see where we get into a cycle where Blade isn't getting used. It's what's happening is Judgment's used, Templar's already used, Judgment's used again while Blade is still off cooldown. And if we go over, Judgment's getting used again, so some of the skills are just getting ignored there.
And it might just be a reflex from last expansion, but like definitely it's worth like putting in the time to retrain yourself to not do that, because it is like kind of huge. Judgment is not as important as it was.
You can see here's a part where Inquisition was used. It wasn't used with that much Holy Power, only used with 1 Holy Power here. So it ran off inside of his wings. So again, you want to make sure your wings will be up for the entire duration of your wings.
And then I'm pretty sure he then did Inquisition with only 2 up as well. So he did Inquisition with 1, went into wings, spent 3, gained 2, then spent Inquisition with 2.
And another So another thing here is that we're seeing some Divine Stormcast, and on Talic, especially before the patch, it's not a DPS benefit, or it was not a DPS benefit to use it on only 2 targets. Now, could you argue there was 3 targets? Technically, yes, but Talic taking reduced damage, so no. Like, if you were lucky, there was 2 blobs there, and you maybe hit 2 blobs, but still, it's not worth the loss of that single Templar's Verdict, and also losing out on Righteous Verdict, which is the talent that you chose in tier 15.
Yeah.
So we've seen this happen a few times.
Especially since you just judged. Like, you literally just judged.
Yeah.
And you spent that judgment increase on the Divine Storm.
Yeah. And so what he means there is, like, Judgment is only putting that debuff on one. So if you use Templar's Verdict to consume that debuff, you're getting the whole benefit of it, right? And even now where Divine Storm is only half of a Templar's Verdict, it only half of that gets consumed. So you're getting half the benefit as you would if you were using Templar's Verdict.
Yeah, if we get a little bit further here, it definitely looks like he's, like we mentioned before, like based on his character in the armory, he's done heroic on some fights last expansion. He's done a little bit of normal and a little bit of heroic in older here, but this is really kind of his first jump into mythic, so there's probably definitely a certain level of adjustment to getting used to it. But we can see here we got a situation where he used Inquisition, and then he used Awake, and then he followed up with Inquisition again. And it's not something that you want to do. For Inquisition, you don't want to refresh it until it's in that pandemic range, which is when it has 30% time less remaining. So with the 3 Holy Power Inquisition, when it's at 13.5 seconds or less, that's when it's ideal. And usually waiting until the last second is good. You basically don't want to drop off. Anytime below 13.5 seconds is fine, but the longer you wait usually works out to be slightly better overall. But you definitely don't want to use Inquisition right away.
Yeah, if it means you're gonna drop it because you're trying to squeeze in one more global before you refresh it, just refresh. You know, obviously it is a gain to wait, but it's a huge loss.
That situation, I'm personally gonna say he's stressing out. He is panicking over what to do on the boss, and it's not paying attention to like what he's actually doing. Maybe forgot he just Inquisition. Because as we're going to see later on, he does have a few like Flash of Light casts that he cancels, and it again going back to the scene, seems like someone finally taking a step into Mystic and being overwhelmed. And
yeah, and then it's just like make sure that you create tools where you don't have to be like, oh no, did I just refresh Inquisition, and then looking all over your screen. Like, make a weak aura to show you the duration, or make a weak aura that only pops up when you need to refresh it. You know, like figure out ways so you can focus less on your rotation and more on doing the mechanics, basically. Because this log very much looks like somebody who is trying to not die and trying to just do his best to not, you know, be a burden.
There is no shame in using weak auras. There is no shame in using add-ons. There is no shame in using Achille. Like, use whatever tools you need to play better, to perform better.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't really, you can't just will yourself to use less brain power on being like anxious about. You just can't. So accept that that's there and make the rotation easier for yourself until you're more comfortable, basically.
Yeah, this is another example here as well. Like, you see long periods of downtime, like with Judgment being used, Judgment being used again, Judgment being used again. That whole time, Blade is off of cooldown, Sacred goes off of cooldown. I'm just getting those large gaps here. More times where Judgment is getting prioritized over Blade. Running into a couple times where we're getting back-to-back cast of Crusader Strike, and In most scenarios, you never want to back-to-back Crusader Strike. Some just minor things there, and if we look at it a little bit further in a different view here, I can find the right one. I have so many tabs open. For a couple of his wakes here. So this is his wake casts up top. And this is the time it says wake did damage. So we had 7 wake casts. But these 2 casts in the middle, they didn't hit anything. So 2 of those casts were whiffed. They hit 0 targets. Now, fortunately, it gives holy power still. Or now it gives holy power even if you don't hit a target. But in Legion, that would have been a death sentence. It's still bad now because Wake does a lot of damage, but you want to make sure you're within range for your Wake of Ashes. And a good way to judge that is your Blade of Justice. It has the same range of Wake, so if your blade is in range to hit, you should be safe to use Wake.
That doesn't mean shenanigans can't happen either, by the way. They sure can. Wake is a little finicky.
Yeah, especially like if you're on the very edge of the range of blade, it might just miss still.
Yeah.
So one of the things that in the rotation is that it comes down to is holy power usage. And we'll use a WoW Analyzer for this. As we can see, we had a lot of holy power wasted overall in the fight. There was 8 wasted from Blade, 7 from Crusader Strike, 4 from Judgment, and 19 from Wake. And what we'll do is we'll go down a bit more and see when the waste was happening. Again, I have like 1,000 tabs open here, so I gotta find the right one. Okay. So we're just on the, from Warcraft logs, you go to resources, change the drop down to holy power, and change the view to events, and you can see this page here, and we can see what times what happened when it was overcapped. When there's an overcap, there's a little O there for overcap. So here we had a blade was used, it overcapped by 1. So he had 4 holy power and he used a blade, so you would have wanted to spend there first, most likely. And immediately after that blade, he used Crusader Strike, which he was already overcapped in the first place, so that was more holy power that was lost there. Again, we can see Judgment, some waste from Judgment there, gain 0. Here's one where Blade was used right after that Judgment, so that was 2 wasted. And then right after that Blade, Wake was used, so all 5 holy power was lost there. Then right after that Wake, same time Crusader Strike was used, so you definitely have to be aware of your holy power. You can only hold 5.
Yeah, and just like again, figure out a way for you to track that. What I did, like when I first started playing and I realized that like I needed to track that better, is I just said, where are my eyes all the time? Like, where am I really focusing? And then I put my holy power there, because having it on my nameplate or whatever just wasn't working, right? So I put the tracker right in my face. I can't not see it.
Yeah,
So
I
like
personally myself, I track Judgment debuff, Inquisitions, wing durations, wing cooldown, wake cooldown, blade cooldowns, even weapon swing. I got a little widget for.
And like, obviously everybody is different. Maybe a graphic doesn't work for you, and maybe you just need an audio cue for certain things. That's fine too.
Yeah, there's always the default audio ones, or if you have to record your own sound clips of you berating yourself. Some people enjoy that for some reason. I always feel good about myself if I hear a weak aura of myself yelling at myself, so.
My wings weak aura literally says, your wings are up. What are you doing? Basically.
Paraphrased.
For a more friendly stream. It's a little meaner than that.
Yeah, but if we take a further look as we go down, we can see again that Wake wasted 5. A Wake here, that was another 5. So no benefit from the holy power. The holy power is a huge, huge part of Awake's benefits. Like in a case here, like using Consecration or even Divine Judgment would have been a DPS increase over using Awake if it gets played like this. So definitely, Holy Power you want to keep track of. If you're having a harder time keeping track of it, or you need to, especially because you're new, maybe this is a case where playing with Consecration or Divine Judgment is a better option for you until you get more used to monitoring your.
Yeah, because like I want to remind chat again, like this is definitely a person who has done mostly like casual, normal, and heroic raiding. So like they kind of took a big leap here. It's really easy to get overwhelmed.
Yeah, so overall, there was a lot of holy power that was overcapped and wasted. That's definitely like this and the downtime are easily the two largest improvement points overall in this.
Mm-hmm. And like a lot of the downtime is just learning that you don't need to go to the opposite side of the room when the boss like runs to drop his cudgel or whatever. Like you're gonna live. It's okay, you know.
Yeah, so we can see here, we can look at the debuffs. It says 12, there wasn't 12. We can look at the graph here for his own buffs. He got Hardened Arteries twice, and he got Plasma Discharge twice.
Yeah,
so
and you
pretty
can
average.
even
It
see,
wasn't an excessive amount. And go ahead.
You can even see like when it gets cast on other people, he kind of is like aware that it's happening and he's not casting because he's trying to not die.
Yeah, like on some of these, like I forget which one it was. Like he got either Plasma Discharge, I think it was, or one of those Plasma Discharges. He gets it and he runs out immediately, and he pretty much stays at range for about a full 20 seconds. Way long. Like with Plasma, you can run out and you can it'll drop it in your circle, but he runs out, he stays out there, he heals himself with Flash of Light and cancels a few of them. Then it's not something that you have to do, especially on a fight like Talic. There's pretty much no reason to have to stop and heal yourself in most scenarios. I'm not saying that you shouldn't ever not need to heal yourself, but it's most likely not needed.
Yeah, and like just knowing the mechanics that like are your fault if you die too, and then the mechanics where like you say I just didn't get a heal. Like if you had died there, you know, it's because it shouldn't have happened, basically. Like obviously 2 wrongs don't make a right. If you definitely are gonna die, probably do something about it. But in this case, it's like your healers really shouldn't be struggling to keep you alive during that, basically.
Not every mechanic is fatal. There's damage that it's gonna happen. There's damage that you can avoid. However, you can mitigate that. Shield of Vengeance exists. Hell, lay on hand yourself if you have to. It's off the global cooldown. But don't be afraid of everything, because if you're afraid of every little mechanic that does damage in Mystic, then you're not going to be able to even touch the boss going further.
And then, like, also knowing where you can bubble, or, you know, in that situation, he could have used Shield of Vengeance.
Yeah, to show an example, we'll go back to Lionelazer. He did die on this fight near the end. He died from the Hardened Arteries, or from the large heart on the tank. And you can see, like, it has a nice little view here of personals available. So we can see here that Shield of Vengeance was off a cooldown. If he used Shield of Vengeance, which would have been a good idea for 1, he would have lived, and 2, it's just a good spot to use it on that fight, because you know enlarged heart will deal a lot of damage. It'll save your life and it will do damage. It's a win-win.
At the end of the day, I think was there people dead at this point, because they can't solo the enlarged hearts if I remember correctly, right?
No, they don't have. They were using 5-6 people to. So
like he did the right thing, you know, but he probably could have lived if he popped a cooldown, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's just like he knew what he needed to do, just, you know, he hasn't quite gone a step further to figure out how to live through that.
Yeah, so one of the add-ons that we mentioned multiple times here, like just to show, Like here's like an overall view of like a fight of like downtime blocks, and we can see these large blocks here. This is where he died, so not much can be done about that after the fact. But we can see here we get these large gaps where things just aren't happening, either because he's running out really far or because he's just out of range of the boss. He's trying to be extra cautious about his surroundings. And like we're mentioning, yeah, you're new, it's your first time, you definitely gotta take a little bit in. But a fight like Talik, it is usually like it applies to most first fights. Most first fights in a raid tier either have a stack mechanic or a spread mechanic, is the common theme. And it like they're easier fights overall, but I think it's definitely a good fight for people who are new to Mythic. It definitely stresses the importance of doing the mechanics correctly, even if they are simple mechanics. So Mythic Talik is the hardened arteries in the large heart. Last tier was Garathi World Breaker. People had to soak the little circles.
Yeah, and they're reactive mechanics. They're not like set times. X people do this. It's whoever gets a debuff, whoever's closest. Like it's something that everyone needs to keep an eye of, and then get that mentality of being able to play with others without communicating. That's why there's a lot of spread mechanics in all there, and that's important. Like having a mindset, having the ability to have the game sense to say that person is spreading that way, then I'll go that way. I'm safe. You don't need to go all the other way. Like you need to see what other people are doing besides yourself in terms of positioning, and that's something that comes with experience.
Scrolling along here, like John mentioned, there is some canceled Flash of Lights cast. Like if it has a red border around it, that means it was canceled. So again, like he hard casted one, then started to cast another and stopped. Some more downtime gaps there. And like an add-on that we mentioned multiple times is Hikile, which is just available on the Curse client if you use the Curse client, or if you go to CurseForge and download it, or just the Curse website, wherever you get your add-ons from. Hikile is a good option to use. And what it is a rotation helper or a priority helper, depending what you want to call it. I'm not gonna sit there and argue about it, but technically it is a priority helper. But what it'll do is it'll give you an example display like this. This is showing an example for Enhancement Shaman, but this also works for Ret. And what it does, it shows you the rotation of what, at that time, what Simcraft would be using. Now, it's not 100% accurate. There are times you have to use your own judgment, but this add-on definitely gets you 99% of the way there. This is definitely a good resource, especially if you're not used to paying attention to new mechanics. If you're able to limit how much you have to look at by limiting it to Hikile, which will let you do more damage and at the same time still pay attention to your surroundings, you should definitely make use of it.
And just like, why make decisions on the next button that you have to hit when you're not super comfortable, when you also have to make decisions about like how to do the fight?
Eventually, with
you only
practice,
have so much brain power.
Yeah, eventually practice is going to become second nature. These decisions are going to become really easy for you to do, and they're going to become something you barely even think about. It's just it will make sense to you. But early on, definitely don't be afraid to use any support you have online.
Yeah, the only things that you want to do is in the add-on, you don't want it to show you your cooldowns. So your wings or your shield defenses or your trinket or your potions. You want those things turned off, and just inside the interface for Hikile, there's just a check mark for cooldowns, just uncheck cooldowns. Just have it show your general rotation, which will include your blade, your judgment, your Crusader Strike, your spenders, either Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm, and your wake if you choose wake, if you choose execution sentence, that'll show up. The only major cooldowns that you don't want showing are your wings, unused trinkets, and potions, and Shield of Vengeance. Other things you can definitely let the add-on guide you. And you can customize it to whatever display you want. If you want horizontal there, you can do that. you like vertical displays, you can do that. There's just some stuff there, but this is definitely a good first step, especially if you don't want to jump head first into weak auras. Like, this can be like a baby step towards weak aura.
Like, it will tell you when to refresh Inquisition too.
Yeah.
Which is nice. It's just, I mean, I raid lead, so I use this because I just got too many other things to worry about, you know? So there's no shame. Just whatever you gotta do to get the boss dead.
It's absolutely no shame. Like, no one's gonna.
Also,
sink
it's a
more.
game, you
Yeah.
know? But like,
Yeah.
like, our big assumption here is, from just looking at the downtime, when it's happening, because it's happening with mechanics, is that like this person is just kind of, everybody has anxiety about various things, and like it's scary, you know, because there's 19 other people relying on you to not suck. So, you know, whatever you need to do to like be able to take a deep breath and worry less about stuff, just
Yeah, one thing, if you feel like you're overwhelmed by the number of icons that it shows you, you can tell it to, by default, I think it shows you 4 icons, but you can change that. You can have it only show you 2, so you know your current and your next ability, so there's not too much there. If you have to just adjust how many things you're seeing at once, you can still do that inside this program. So if you were using it before and you felt like there was too much on screen, you can just change the number of icons. They only show 2, 3, or if you want to just do 1, you can do 1 even. Just whatever works for you.
yeah, I think 3 is a good sweet spot because it'll tell you, like, then you know that you need to refresh Inquisition in like 3 levels, you know?
Yeah.
But you don't need it. Sometimes I do see people with like a whole 6 of them, and I'm just like, why?
Yeah, that's definitely a bit excessive, and if you try to do that, it's not going to be accurate to that extent.
Yeah.
Like, the default of 4, you definitely don't want to go past that. And if you're seeing like 2 boxes, if you're seeing 1 for a single target and 1 for AoE, there's also an option to change that. It'll actually just show both in the same box. I'll show you a bit later. Not a stream. I'm talking to the person in Discord. Also, I can show you how to make it only a single bar. But either way, for AoE for Ret, the only thing that changes, instead of Templar's Verdict, it's just Divine Storm instead. You can just straight up turn that AoE bar off if it's still on, and if you know there's multiple targets nearby, you can just know to press Divine Storm instead of Templar's Verdict.
There's also the Discord for this add-on, like if you need help setting things up, and obviously like we're available to, because it does kind of seem overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, like here it shows like 2 icons. A display like the above can be by going /e-killing, go to display, your specialization, so retribution, then UI, and changing icon shown to 2. You can change the size of the icon. You can make like the first icon larger or the second icon smaller, like in these. So you know the larger one is your next move. It makes it easy. And like here, like this shows both displays because the current mode is set to single target. Now what you'll see, like in your primary display, you'll have different options aside heal. I forget what they're called because I don't have the game open right now, but I'll actually open up here. Let me check. 1 second.
Obviously, you don't have to use this all the time or whatever, but it really it helps a lot, you know? Because once you get the basics down, you're gonna start wondering like, oh, if these 2 things are on cooldown, which one do I want to use? Stuff.
All right, so I have my WoW open. So I have heal here. I have mine set to 3 bars. So when you open up Heal, you get it here. You can see There's other bars here. I just dragged them off the screen. But we have our sections here for your specialization if you want to change things there. But for displays, you have this here. There's the primary display, AoE display, defensives, and interrupts. And pretty much all you need is the primary display. And you can see here, this is where the icons are adjusted. Like if you want 3, there's 3. If you want 4, you can add 4, and that 4th one popped up. If you only want 2, you can have 2.
Yeah.
So you can just
you can also change the size of the first icon, so it's easy for you to see like your primary icon.
Like here, mine are also the same, but if I wanted to make it larger, you can do that. I don't know why you would do that, but you can do that. If you want your first icon to be massive, that's something you can do. You might have to adjust your bars a bit, but you can change that icon size. And that's under the main. If you go to Q, these are the queued icons. You can make those smaller if you want. See, now they're super tiny there if you want them super tiny, but whatever works best for you. What am I looking for?
Also, hashtag not a sponsor. I think we should throw that in there now.
Yeah.
We're showing the things that we show off on stream are things that we all use and that we all pretty much endorse. Not that they necessarily endorse us or tell us to do these things. That we like these things. These things are useful to us. So we show these things off. We recommend people use these things.
Yeah, it uses the same thing that Simcraft uses, and so we're pretty confident that that is accurate. So we know that this thing also is going to be accurate.
Yeah, so like here on the toggles, like here's where you can like uncheck show cooldowns. Like mine was checked for some reason. You can uncheck that. Like defensives, you don't want to show defensives, so you can uncheck that.
Yeah, because it's just every time you take damage, it's going to tell you to use a defensive, and usually after you've taken damage is too.
I'm trying to remember what I wanted to do. I can't remember. So I'm just gonna scroll through a few things here. You guys just, if you want to fill in some words, what I think.
I mean, honestly, I took about 10 minutes setting this thing up at the beginning of the expansion and called it. But obviously, like, if you don't have a whole lot of add-ons, it can be a little bit more complicated. But again, like, he has his Discord, and then you can obviously ask, just go into the Rec Questions channel or whatever, and
It's
can help you too.
It's fairly simple to set up anyways. Outside of what Scout already said of like taking your cooldowns off Achille, it's fairly simple.
It doesn't do the opener, but our opener is pretty simple, and it's not the end of the world either way.
Yeah, and you will most likely change your opener as you will most likely change your talent combination and trade combination, trinket combination, and whatever is to come in BFA for that.
Yeah. That's one thing we'll get into in a moment. We'll go over some of the resources and how to properly utilize some of our resources. But also, if you want to, like, there's this little abilities thing here. Like, you can choose ret. You can look in the drop down. If you just want to turn certain things off, you can do that. Like, you can go in there and individually disable or enable things that you don't want to see. Like if you're a Blood Elf and you want Arcane Torrent, you could uncheck this. Because by default, Arcane Torrent's a cooldown, but if you're not showing cooldowns, you won't be able to see it, so... A way to get around that is to just edit the individual abilities, whether you want them on or off. There's definitely a lot in the add-on you can modify a bit, but usually an important thing is just turn off cooldowns, turn off defensives. That's pretty much it. Like in display mode here, like if you're getting the 2 boxes, there's modes here. And it gives you like a description here of what is what. And pretty much you just want to use the default one, which is auto versus single. And that'll give you that 1 bar. If you're using the other modes, it'll show you multiple bars. So just leave it on auto versus single and auto. And that's fine. You don't need multiple bars.
It's pretty damn good, man. And shout out to the developer for keeping it updated, like, to the point of less than 24 hours.
Oh my god, yeah, and just being like all around super nice.
Yep.
But yeah.
As well.
Right.
So I think for the log, that is the log. That's pretty much what there is to it.
Reiterate.
Like if you want some more things to look into, like weak auras, there's a site called Wago, or just wago.io. Just here. So click on weak auras. You go to retribution, and you can just look and see what's already on here. If you want to search for something, just type in whatever you want to search for.
There's a lot of like just
search for holy power. You can see different holy power bars or whatever you want to do.
And it's fine if you don't like the first one you install. You know, it doesn't mean that there's not one for you. And eventually you will probably be able to figure out how to make them for yourself. It's not that hard, but it's real overwhelming to get into it.
Yeah, this is why this is a good starting point. You use someone else's and just adjust theirs to your liking.
Yep, and again, I know I'm repeating myself and I sound like a broken record. And Reb and Skeletor said, any help, any resource you need, the Paladin Discord has everything you need. The Red Fac has every guide you need.
Yep.
And please don't be afraid to come and ask for help.
Yeah, as long as you're not expecting a black and white answer, like we're very much big on like teach a man to basically style of answering questions.
Yeah. It's definitely a case of where, like, when we're telling you to do certain things, is that we want you to be able to help yourselves in the future so you can answer the same types of questions for yourself. So you don't have to rely on someone to always tell you, okay, what do I do next? What do I do now? Or trying to give you resources that'll let you make an informed decision on your own behalf.
Yeah, it's good and bad because like we have options now, right? Everything's close. There's some variety, but also like it makes it harder to help people. So there's always going to be people around to like that are willing to sit down and have a conversation with you and like teach you how to learn. So yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm just sharing my Discord screen on here now. Like this is just the Red FAQ channel. It covers a lot of basic things, like the guides available here. Icy Veins, my guide, Reb's Wowhead guide. If you like videos, Elite has some video guides. Has a link to trinkets here, which we'll go over. Has a link to different Azerite gear rankings, which we'll talk about. It gives a little bit of a breakdown here of a few things, like for the outer class ring, that'll come later. Certain little notes here on some of the Azerite talents. There's a FAQ, so some basic things like what talents do I do in Oldir, what talents do I do in Mythic, just some basic there. And there's just things here you can look at, like do Azerite trade stack, do I use Divine Storm on 2 targets, how do I use Empyrean Power. Just some real basic questions here that you can go over. These are common questions. But one thing that we'll go over here is we'll go over a few of our guides. Alright, so for my site is just ratpaladin.xyz. It's in my Discord name there. That's what it is. Like, that's why if you ever see someone ask me where my guide is, I say read my name. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but my site name is literally right there next to my name, so. And recently, just as a little bit of a self-promotion plug here, the site has been updated recently. It has a new layout here. So if you haven't been here recently, it definitely is different now. It should be a bit more pleasing to look at. It's not beautiful by any means, but it's a lot more functional than it was. There's links up here. They actually do things now. They're not just broken. There's an updates tab here. This shows when the guide was updated and what I changed.
If you want the whole damn kitchen sink and all for Red Paladin things, like this is your source. Like it's real overwhelming, but it's got literally everything in there.
Yeah, that's the ret guide here. If you click on the ret guide, it'll bring up the guide. You can use this navigation menu here. If you scroll down, it stays up top. It's a sticky nav bar. It has the Wowhead links built into it, so you can mouse over and whatnot. And you just find what you need to use. Like if you need to look at the rotation, it's over here as the priority system. If you want to know more about stats, there's stats there. Just things in general. Just make use of the little drop-down menu here. Like we'll go to priority system. So here's this. Here's our rotation. Scroll down there. There's our opener. If you want to see some of the sims. So for sims, like they're generally gear sims. So under gear here, there's like Azurite and trinkets. We can see here. Here's Azurite. Some information on traits. Some of them have notes. Some of them don't. If you scroll down, we got the charts here. The charts are interactive. If you mouse over the name, it'll say what it is. It shows you how many ranks there are, like if you're stacking them. If you mouse over them, it shows you how much DPS it is, percentage-wise. Because we're all DPS numbers, they don't matter. We're just focusing on the percentage gain here. If you want to... So, one thing you'll see is that we tell people that Imperium power is good. You'll be like, well, if Imperium power is good, why don't we see it up here? And what we'll do, we'll turn off those first two. And we can see here, it's a case of where that first rank of Imperium power is strong, but it's not a trait that stacks well. So when you add that second rank, it's not very good. Add that third rank, it's not very good. So it's further down the chart. So you have to know how to use the information that's given to you.
Yeah, like this chart is sorted by the overall gain if you have all three.
Yeah.
So.
And again, these charts are just a relative idea. This isn't your traits always sim like this. This is using the default profile. And if you want to look at the default profile here, I have links here. Like simulation profiles are available here for single target and here for hectic ad cleave, which technically it's not hectic ad cleave anymore. I'm using the dungeon slice sim because it's a much better representation. But if you're searching for year in general, there's a link here to the Azurite Power Finder on Wowhead, which we'll go over in a little bit. I'll open up some of these profiles here too, so you can look at the profiles and see how horrible they are.
And again, to put a little disclaimer on this, and sorry if I'm interrupting, this is using a set profile. This isn't your character. Results may vary. Don't read the graph and say, oh, that little bar is bigger, so it's just this. This is specific sim for specific situations using a set profile. Always resim with your character. It takes seconds just to make sure.
Yeah, like what you'll see, if you have time to ask in questions chat, which is better, you have time to hit the sim button on raid bots. And we'll go over that in a little bit. So again, I have trinkets here too. Again, these are just general ideas. It doesn't mean this will be this for your character, but this is a decent rough estimate of how you can expect certain trinkets to perform. And it's even more of a cluster here because item levels. It goes up from 340 to 395. Like, again, like a situation, you're like, people say Dark Moon is good. Well, if Dark Moon is good, how come it's in the lower half of the chart? That's because Dark Moon only comes out one item level. 355. So what can we do? we can either just use this little crosshair. As you can see, that little crosshair, this trinket's a lot better than a lot of 390 trinkets or 395 trinkets. And if you want to make it a bit easier on yourself, you can turn them off. As you can see here, this 355 trinket beats out a majority of the 370 trinkets in game, as it stands now.
Yeah, these charts, they're great because they show you like how much benefit am I gonna get if I have the same trinket and I get a higher item level, right? Or like how do these traits stack, blah blah blah, like, or figuring out just outliers. These are the 5 trinkets that are probably gonna perform really well, and these are the 5 trinkets that I absolutely want to avoid. Like, that's what they're good for, you know? At the end of the day, it's not gonna replace just doing a sim. Like, I have done all these things, all of these things are in my guide, and I just forget them immediately after because it doesn't, I'm literally just gonna sim it for myself when I get upgrades, you know? Like, I know the basic idea of things, I know the mechanics of trinkets, I know how the traits work, but at the end of the day, it's useless to memorize a chart like this. You know, it's really just like a reference to know what is real bad and what is good, how things stack, stuff like that, but it doesn't replace simming. There's no such thing as best in slot anymore.
Yeah, and one thing to mention, like, there's some notes here, like the Ravithor Skull B2 trinket, it's not in Simcraft, or like the Dread Gladiator and Dread Aspirant, or whatever the new ones are they're called that replace these, like, they're all the same trinket, they just have different names. Like, Jess Howler is a little bit special because Jess Howler, when you use it, depending on how many allies you have nearby, it'll split it. And by default, this isn't simmed. I'll show you guys how to do that. I showed people earlier, but I'll show it again. By default, SimC does not split the versatility. So that's why you'll see, like, on my chart, you'll see Jess Howler is a lot lower down there because it's actually being split. And even again, like Jess Howler, it might be a slight personal DPS loss, but you are buffing for other people, so it's definitely a group DPS benefit. So sometimes you can't be greedy. Like, do you care more about yourself or do you care more about the group? Some further considerations. And also, the newest thing here is Knot of Ancient Fury. This was a lot lower in the chart. Right now in the sim, it's not being used properly. It's only being used during Crusade. And for some reason, if you try to tell the sim to do differently, it ignores you and it just does what it wants. So this, again, this isn't in Simcraft yet, so it's not fixed right, but if, as a rough estimate, if you have a Knot of Ancient Fury at the same item level, it's pretty comparable to Syringe in terms of just the raw value. But this is where it comes into play as well, how to read these charts. Like, this is just for single target. This assumes no ads or anything, like you're on a single target. So there's 2 factors here. Standing
still, hitting one thing for 5 or 6 minutes or however.
Yeah, so for Syringe here, Syringe is a RP PM trinket. You have a chance to inflict a debuff on a target, and you have to attack that target with a debuff to get your stacks. Whereas the Dot, it's an on-use trinket. Whenever you want to use that critical strike, you have it. It's consistency versus RNG. Sometimes that little bit of consistency will outweigh the RNG.
Not only that, it's the fights will matter a lot. Syringe is really hard to use currently. You know, there's outside of like a couple niche fights, due to just you're gonna get off the boss. You're not gonna get a proper uptime on it. You're gonna swap targets.
Yeah, like on Vectus, like let's say you swap to the ad. You swap to the ad, and all of a sudden your Syringe procs and the ad's dead. You got no use from that. And that's where this AoE chart here, it shows it a bit better. As you can see, Syringe fell quite a bit further down the list, because there is some target swaps going on here. So it's not nearly as effective in AoE as it was in single target. So you can see here now that the knot is now quite a bit above that Syringe. So a common thing is like, how do I use trinkets? Like, how should you be using them? Again, like in my guide, I'm already here, so I'm gonna keep showing my guide. Like in the priority system, I have a cooldown section. It tells you about how to use Avenging Wrath. It tells you how to use Crusade. It tells you a little bit about Shield of Vengeance. And there's a trinket section here. Like if your trinket's 2-minute cooldown or less, read this. If it's 1-minute cooldown or less, read this. Like racials, like how to use different racials, it's there. Like the most important thing now is that one of the changes, when I say one of the changes, I have this little battle for Astaroth design philosophy. One of the biggest things that happened is that our buffs are now on a whitelist. Like I mentioned here, like our Mastery, Avenging Wrath, Crusade, Inquisition, Execution, Sentence, Retribution. These are all whitelisted, which means they only affect certain abilities. So like we'll bring up Avenging Wrath here. You can see the effect 1, modify damage healing done. Modify periodic damage, so dots, and critical strike chance. Only the abilities you see in this list will be buffed. As you can see, your trinket, like Razdunk's big red button, the one that you use to send a missile, it's not buffed by wings or anything. It does the damage that it does. So certain things that you don't, there's certain things that you don't have to use inside of your wings anymore. And that is covered in the cooldown section here. Like if the trinket does damage, such as Razdunk's big red button, you would just use this trinket on cooldown, because those damaging effects aren't buffed by Crusade or Avenging Wrath. On the other hand, if you have a trinket that provides a stat rating, now like the Avenging Wrath isn't buffing the trinket, but if you have more stats during your cooldown, you're doing more damage during cooldown. So you'll want to use those trinkets inside. So like here, 1-minute trinket, you'll use it 1 time in Avenging Wrath, or 1 time in Wings, then 1 time before Wings is back. So simply put, it'll line up with every other Avenging Wrath, or every other Wing. The trinkets that trip people up with the most are things like the Vial here, which is like 1.5 minutes. This falls into that, it's greater than 1 minute, but less than 2. So it falls in where we only use it with Wings. We won't use it in between. The same as Doom's Fury, which is a little bit longer, at 1 minute and 45.
You just basically and that it's a 1 minute or a 2 minute.
Or if for some reason you're using Merecthus Fang, it's a channeled ability. You don't want to use it during your Wings, so you want to use it outside of your Wings. The information here is just the TLDR.
It is the whole goddamn kitchen. It's like everything is here. If you want the answer to every little thing, it's gonna be on this page, honestly.
Yeah, there's also... Oh, go ahead.
No, this isn't to say don't come ask for help. Not at all. We're not like, oh, just go there, period. We're saying every answer you're gonna need is there. However, if you're reading and you have questions about what you're reading, if you have a problem applying what you read, if you have specific logs that you need reviewing, we're there. Like, don't.
Yeah, the most important part of the guide here is right here, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You need to take the stat weights part out of that GIF.
Yeah, but there's also other stuff here, like there's a little Azerite drop down if you want to see the Azerite gear ranking. Now this is not very useful anymore because we now have Azerite traits that do not stack well, such as Imperium Power. And what I have here is I have the individual head, shoulder, and chest Azerite pieces. I have them showing their highest simming combo, and again, you might see multiple pieces here that all have Imperium Power or Light Decree, but it doesn't mean you should stack those. So like now more than ever, you just need to sim yourself. You have to sim yourself and see what's best for you. But I do have a separate page here for Azerite trait ranking, or Azerite trait talent fight combinations. Like some talents, they'll change how good an Azerite trait is. So here's one for Blade of Wrath rankings. So with Blade of Wrath, it makes expurgation a bit better because you have more blades, you have more chance for blade to crit, so more chance for those expurgation dots. Divine Judgment. Divine Judgment buffs Justice, it buffs Judgment, and Indomitable Justice also buffs Judgment, so with Divine Judgment, the Indomitable Justice trait is better. And for some fights, Execute is very important, like Gahoon. So as you can see here on Gahoon, our Execute range, our 4th best trait is Gut Ripper. And remember, Gut Ripper is a tier 2 trait. It's not a main trait, and it's inside Execute range. It is very strong.
And Godspeed actually getting it.
Which reminds me, I actually need to update this because this is wrong. I do have the new traits on there, like Apothecary's Concoction. That's on there because that's in Simcraft now. Also,
Scrap the whole thing.
the Shadows of Balloon is here as well, and I forgot to put T3 in the name apparently, so I gotta fix that. I just want to note here that Archive of the Titan, that for some reason, I forgot to tell it to be stacked already. I need to change that. This will actually be up here as well. This is actually very good in Execute, so I'm going to make a mental note to update this. But also for simming this stuff, you can sim Execute range on raid bots. We'll get to that in a moment. We're going to go over some raid bot stuff. There's a Mythic Oldier tips, like I have it here. So like Talic was what we were just talking about, like talents for Talic. Like one of the common things you'll see is like Hammer Wrath is always recommended because it's generally gonna be the highest simming talent, and especially now with running White's Decree, if you have it, where you have 5 more seconds on wings, you're gonna get another Hammer Wrath in there, so just make that talent that much better. It'll have some notes, like you can use Divine Shield to remove Plasma Discharge without dropping a pool. You can use Shield of Vengeance on Hardened Arteries and Large Chart and Bloodstorm, things like that. Just other notes there on the page. There's an FAQ section, which is pretty much just the red FAQ in Discord, so not much value if you're already in the Discord. And there's a little math page here, which I'll probably expand a bit. Right now, it just covers some basic stuff, like seeing how much haste you need to have a certain cooldown. Just some small stuff there.
If you like looking at numbers and charts and shit, this is where it's at.
Yeah,
obviously, nobody expects anyone to memorize all of this.
If you memorize all of this stuff, you should probably find a new hobby.
Or, like, monetize that shit, man. Like, damn, if your memory is that...
I think you're trying to bait me here. But at the bottom side, I do have some links to my other stuff. I like my Twitch link, Twitter link. I don't really tweet anything. I just retweet memes, so there's really nothing of value there, but it happens to be there. My YouTube channel is there. Link to Discord and stuff. I do have a Patreon, so if that's your thing, I'm not gonna shill it anymore, but there.
Do it.
So I mentioned earlier the Azurite Power Finder on Wowhead. There's just a link to it, or if you just use the nav bar, you want to learn about Azurite, Wowhead has a little drop down for Azurite. It's right there. Click on Ret. Click on, by default, it's actually now select multiple. If you want to see what has Empyrean Power, click on Empyrean Power. And you'll see it'll automatically cross off other traits if they're not present. Like, let's say you want Empyrean Power and you want Gut Ripper because you want to dunk on Gahoon. There we go. There's that Petrified Ironbark Crown, which is from the New World boss in Darkshore.
I spent way too much time on this, using this tool.
This is like the single greatest tool ever.
It is.
It's going to be really great with the raid coming out, a new Azurite and having multiple rings on its update.
It's going to be great on like the final raid of the team. If they keep adding one ring, I don't know what they're going to do, but if they keep adding one ring, oh, that's going to be similarity.
Like, here's like what the profiles look like that I linked all the sim profiles. As you can see, there's just a bunch of crap in them if you want to sim stuff. I have pretty much all the profiles uploaded here, which all the links are in the guide. So if you want to see all this nonsense, and run it for yourself, you can do that. They're all there, the potions, weapon enchants.
And just disclaimer, this is
Trinkets.
not a thing most people do.
You don't need this stuff. It's there.
It's fun if you want to dabble a little bit in the math. It's fun.
But
If
my
you're
guide is
fucking
not
nerd.
the only guide. I'm going to stop shilling for myself now. We do have other guides here. We have the Wowhead guide from Reb here. Anything you want to point out and go over here?
I mean, it's a real good guide. It's got all the basics there. I do have charts and stuff.
It's also
It's
we
good.
also-
I'll get fired if it isn't. So, like obviously different people learn different ways. So like, I'm proud of my work. It's accurate, it's good, but also I'm not going to be offended if people look at it and see gibberish and they're like, I just learned better watching a video or reading this other person's writing style. Like, really, it's just like all
Different
of it
strokes
for me.
for different folks.
Exactly. Like all of us are in a channel together, so all of the information is going to be coherent. You just need to find what guide is easiest for you to consume and stick with that. Basically.
Yeah, there's also the IC Vans guide here. Earth isn't here, but it's also here. It has different sections. And for videos, which I forgot a copy.
Hi, my name's...
guides pretty much cover the same
When
thing.
I say all the guides are coherent, I mean the ones that we recommend in the FAQ,
Yeah.
and definitely not Noxic. I see where you're going with this, Chamra.
If you like videos, there's Pete's guide here. Like really, like in a video guide, there's certain things that won't be quite updated, but this is why it's the essentials guide. It tells you the things that won't change too much with patches. So if you like watching videos, we got videos here.
Hearing that smooth voice.
I wish I had his voice. No,
And
there's no WoW Plus. No WoW Plus recommended.
There's
That's
funny story about WoW Plus. So WoW Plus is no longer a thing. It's now Pantheon Plus for that new Pantheon MMO game. They've completely rebranded themselves.
Well then.
And I will show you guys because
for that. It's just they were never gonna things that don't fill a role that needs to be filled, or like fill a niche that hasn't been filled yet, are just not going to take off.
yeah,
Basically.
as you can see here, it's still the WoW Plus or Twitter, but it's now all about Pantheon Plus, and they're all on the Pantheon hype train.
Good for them.
I just thought it was funny.
It is. I mean, it's just they tried.
Whatever's good for them. So what else do we have on the list to talk about?
Oh, we're gonna go over some sim stuff.
Right.
But before we jump into sim stuff, was there anything else you wanted to cover, though? I don't know.
Mostly just what I've said already. Like reading off graph, reading off trinket lists is all must be double checked with sims. That's nothing. Which is a good segue for what you're going to show now on raid bots. You can't just look at a graph and say, that's it, this is perfect for every situation. To reiterate another thing, Reds have never been in this position. We have never been so viable with so many talents. We haven't had so many viable talents and talent options and so many things variating from one character to another. There is no definitive answer on anything, really.
I promise we're not just trying to be dick.
Yeah, we just don't want to misinform you.
Yes, exactly. Like we could tell you, but we could be misleading you without even knowing. That's why we want to teach you how to get your own answers. My talents since patch, my best talents for like single target have changed 3 times.
Yeah. Like the first day when I simmed my single target pass was Zeal, Fire of Justice, Consecration.
Mm-hmm. I think everybody had that moment of like, wait a second, how come Crusade isn't best for me?
Yeah,
because that's what we were all expecting.
And that's like one of the things that we didn't mention too much. Like, if you see someone telling you that you should use Crusade because you have a light decree trait, you should slap that person. You should sim yourself instead.
Yeah.
Now, for me, for my character, unless the sim's gonna lie to me, not lie to me, unless it's gonna change to me right now and say that Inquisition is better, Crusade has been simming better for my character up until this point, at least. We're about to find out if that's changed or not, I guess. But here's just my character. This is my SimC input. Again, this is from the SimCraft add-on. We're on the top gear section of raid bots. If you need the SimCraft add-on, the link for it's right there. You install your WoW add-on, however you install your add-ons. You open up your game. You do /SimC. Copy that giant string, and you paste it in raid bots. And we're not doing a complete and thorough raid bots guide here. There's already videos for that. We're just giving you a little bit more context. So when you paste your stuff here, it shows you all the gear that you're wearing and the gear in your bags. So by default, this is the gear that I'm wearing. And if you want to select other gear, you can click on it. So if I also want to sim this helmet, I can choose the helmet. If I want to sim different traits in the helmet, you can click on the individual traits. Like I want to sim Archive and I want to sim Imperium Power, so I'll choose that. If I want to go over here, we can sim this. We can select multiple pieces of gear. You can select multiple traits. Again, you just click or click again, whether you want it on or off. Same for trinkets. If you like for trinkets and rings, like if you have a certain ring or trinket you want to lock in, you can choose the lock button. And you'll always have that ring on. And then only the second ring will change. If you want to do that. Or if you only want to sim certain trinkets. Now, I am a trinket hoarder. If a trinket drops, I save it in case something happens. So that's why I have so many just random low-level trinkets here. But you don't have to do that.
I'm gonna go hide my 12 rings.
Oh, I just disenchanted all my rings, though. I used to have a lot more, but I finally turned them all to crystals today.
I hoard Azure and trinkets because
we'll sim the Santa hat, okay? We'll choose the Santa hat.
This is so user-friendly. Like,
And
there's
again,
really no reason not to just sim it.
And here's the single greatest part of Top Gear now, is that you can sim your enchants, your ring, and your gems. Now, listen, if you already have enchants and gems on your gear, don't change them. It's not worth the gold, unless you have millions of gold. It's really only useful for when you're getting a new gear. So if you want to sim these things, you can click on them. And if you always want to use a strength gem, you can click on strength, always use. You can click on the buttons for default or none, for mass selection, whatever you want to do. And for talents, you can change the talents here. If you want to sim multiple talents, you click on them.
The talent thing honestly is so useful. It's way better than, like, they should just get rid of the talent compare altogether and bake this. Cause it's just so nice.
And this is regular SimC options here, like we're just using Smart Sim, that's fine. If you want to do patchwork, we'll do patchwork here. But like I mentioned earlier, like my AoE sims, they use Dungeon Slice, you can use Dungeon Slice. If you want a sim execute range, there's execute patchwork there. If you want to use other stuff, there's other stuff. Do you. You do you. But I think the most useful ones are definitely patchwork, Dungeon Slice, and the execute.
Honestly, like, just play around. And then you will know, like, you'll have various builds already. So when you go into like a Mythic Plus or whatever, you can say, you know, this is what we need. This is what I know Sims. Or whatever. Or like, I don't feel like playing the best setup for me. But I also know that if I change to this talent, it's not going to be a huge loss. And I want to have fun because this is a.
As Reb did say earlier, performing better with an underperforming talent is better than performing badly with a better seeming talent.
Or like if it's you're in a dungeon and it's like less than 1% to change to a talent that you don't do it. It's a game. And we have the luxury of like actually being able to do that right now. So
Yeah, like, and here's my Simmons stunt. We are still good. Crusade is still my best, but as you can see, it wants me to use this helmet. But I'm not going to, because that's Dagger in the back. And Dagger in the back is a very frustrating trait in a raid environment. It sims very high, but, like, again, to get the most benefit from this trait, it has to be that pure single target fight, and you have to be behind the target. Like, if you walk in front of the target for some reason, or the boss turns, or the boss's name is Zul, it's not very good trait. But you can see here, like, it shows the different things. Like, the difference between me switching my helmet. Why is the Santa hat so high?
It's the reason for the season, my dude.
I will look at this later, but the Santa hat is not that good, I swear.
something has gone wrong.
Bro, something's wrong.
Something
You know,
not
you
quite
could
right.
do like one sim with that and demonstrate how to open up the HTML file and look into stuff like that when it seems funky.
I feel that might be a little display plugin, not actually the same results.
Maybe.
Alright, so on raid bots, like one of the common things we tell people to do, we tell people to sim it. They say, I can't sim it, I don't have the item. Well, that doesn't matter, you can still sim it. And there's a couple ways you can do it. First way is using Gear Compare. Go to Gear Compare. You can put in your stuff here. If you want to add an item, use this drop down and search for it. If you want to sim a Dark Moon deck, type in Dark Moon. Learn to spell. Type in Dark Moon and choose your card. Choose your item level. Or, well, I know for a Dark Moon trinket, it's always 355, but you choose you.
Sorry, I'm still hung up on the Santa hat.
If you want to test out the B trinket, choose the B. Choose the item level. If you want a socket, give it a socket. If you want to put an agility gem on your strength gear, go for it and test it out. You choose what slot you want. You want it in trinket 1, you want it in trinket 2. And you keep on doing that. You can just add a billion things there and sim whatever you want. But you don't have to do that. I really wish they would add this to the top gear page, and maybe one day we'll get this in top gear. But let's say you want to use top gear still. You want to know how to add stuff to it that you don't have yet. Take note here that it shows you your gear from bags. And it's all filled out there. So what you can do is you can just find the item IDs of things you want to sim. We'll go back to Wowhead over here. We're on Wowhead. Let's say we want to sim a B trinket. We'll search for the bygone B. We'll click on it. Just as a note here in the URL, you can't see it because I don't have it showing, but the URL shows the item ID. But also on Wowhead, there's this gray button that says links. Click that button. One of the links here is Simulation Craft, which is the line for SimCraft for this item. Click on that line and copy it. Go back to your top gear sim. At the bottom of your sim, put a hashtag or an octothorpe, a pound sign, whatever you call it, paste your trinket there. And now I have 2 Bs in my list. I already had 1 B.
I believe the
Maybe you want to
is a
change the
tic-tac-toe.
item level of the B, though. Do a comma. Do a I level equals. We'll make it a 385B. All of a sudden, we have a 385B in the mix that we can have fun with. Let's say you want to do a socket or an enchant. Scroll up, look at your other items. So you know that your rings have enchants. Like there's enchant IDs, which you can do. If you want to do that, you can change those. If you have sockets, it'll show up there as well. Or, because we're in top gear, you just use these. And just note, whenever you modify this input, it'll deselect anything you already have. So any gear that you want to add, make sure to put it inside this list first, and then change your stuff here. Like, so for example, we'll select a bunch of stuff. Then we'll modify this. It'll get deselected. So change your stuff inside here first.
Yeah, then you can scroll down to whatever slot it's in and make sure it applied. It really is like a lot easier than you think if you really want to go about doing it this way.
We're going to investigate the Santa hat now for fun.
Oh, help, please. Please. Oh. I'm gonna say it's just a display bug. Honestly.
It's relevant because, like, looking at the full result and
So we'll
knowing
run
how
a
to
quick
do
sim
that
here
is-
of the Santa hat.
I'm like real curious. 'Cause what item level is it?
3.
1. And as we can see here, like all of a sudden, like the DPS is now down to 16,000. So there was definitely just some sort of weird display bug going on in top gear. Because I normally sim for higher than 16.3k.
Oh, actually, Souls just confirmed that the Santa hat is biz, so
oh no.
everyone do your Santa hat. What does Noxic say about the Santa hat?
I don't know, whatever line they copied and pasted from 2008 that I haven't updated yet. All right, but one of the things that's nice about raid bots, on quick sims at least, on large top gear sims you won't have it, but on quick sims you will. There's this little link or button here for a full HTML report, which will open up a new tab, so you can get a further look into what's going on. You can see things like your damage per second in a little graph there. You can see your average damage of abilities and things you can use. Show you what percentage of your damage comes from what, how much time a sim spends doing what. It shows you here, like, there's the DPS distribution. So again, this is a smart sim. Like, let's say if you're using iterations instead, like if you had set 10,000, it would show you how many times a sim ended up where. So like this, by default, you see the mean result for your sim. So this result happened 875 times. The sim did 16,385 DPS. On the other end of the spectrum, there was 13 sims where the DPS was between 17.8 and 17.9 thousand DPS. We go to the really opposite end of the spectrum. There was a case here where it was 9 sims that were between 15,014 and 15,092, or just the bare minimum it ever did was 14,702. The most it ever did was 18,594. So that's why if you're trying, this is one of the reasons why if you're smacking a training dummy, why you're not matching it. One, because you're not hitting the training dummy 10,000 times at 5 minutes apiece. It's impossible. You can't do it.
That's a huge misconception with people that start simming, is they think that a sim is one iteration. The result's like, oh, if I sim 16k, then I should be doing 16k. No, in the average of 10,000 or whatever many iterations you had, that was the median, the mean. But there are edge cases. There are sometimes you're just gonna crit. Sometimes you're just gonna proc everything in a row. You're gonna have the godlike opener of it all, and it's gonna just. But that's really rare edge cases.
Yeah, then
You should aim to make sure your breakdown is the same as the Sims, honestly.
yeah, and the other thing is that by default in the sim, it has all the buffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wooly makes a good point in chat. It's 35 days straight of smacking a.
If someone records a full 35 days of them doing 5-minute test 10,000 times, I will pay you, by the way.
Yeah. My biggest pet peeve is when people come in and they're like, but I hit a dummy and it's different. And it's just like, okay, but go do that 9,999 more times and come back here.
There is an anecdote. Early Legion, someone came on the Discord claiming they didn't need to use Seams because they hit a dummy for 4 hours to get proper results on how much the trinket proc was and how much damage it did, and trying to prove us wrong. And he didn't log it, apparently.
Yeah, so here's this. Like, just to not get too far track, I turned off all the buffs. All the raid buffs are off. No potion, no food, no flask, no rune. Still using a Santa hat. We'll run a new quick. Oh, I had it in my clipboard still. We're good. We'll run a new sim and we'll see how much all those buffs affect the DPS. So before, with Santa Hat, we were doing 16.3k DPS. Afterwards, we're down to 12.6k, so it's a pretty big gap. Oh, like just a few hundred DPS short of 4,000. 4,000 DPS coming just from consumables and buffs. It's a lot. And also things like sometimes people ask, well, how does the sim use something? Or what does it look like? You can scroll down here and we're back in the HTML report. There's this action priority list section. You can expand that. If you want to read the actual APL lines, it'll tell you here. Like here, it's action is use item Doom's Fury if buff Avenging Wrath up or buff Crusade up and buff Crusade remains less than 18 seconds. Or if you want to see what actually happened, you can expand this here. Now, by default in our sims, we use sequences, and when you have a sequence, it doesn't show you the skill name, it shows you the name of the sequence. But we can see this here, it'll show you what was happening. So again, if you see this here, it says sequence wake opener how. We can go here, sequence, it's this one. Happened 9 times, we can see what the opener was. This is like Wake of Ash is enabled and blah 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 blah, and the opener is Shield of Vengeance, Blade of Justice, Judgment, Crusade, Templar's Verdict, Wake of Ashes, Templar's Verdict, Hammer of Wrath, Templar's Verdict, and that's the opener that I use. So that's what these mean. But if you scroll down further, it'll show you what was used next. You can just make use of it.
It's really good for figuring out, like, when is this trinket used and all of that stuff.
Like here, because we're using Crusade, here's where the trinket got used at 15 seconds, was using Doom's Fury. Now, why does it do that? Because it's Crusade, you have to build Crusade up. So you want to be at 10 stacks for certain trinkets. Like Doom's Fury, that's the critical strike trinket from the world boss. So you either want to use it when you have 10 stacks your Crusade, or the remaining duration of your Crusade is equal to the length of the trinket. One of 2 scenarios. And it shows you what buffs you have when you did certain actions. So there's all this stuff here you can Another common thing is people ask, does the sim account for re-origination rate changing? Of course it does, and you can see it here. You can see my re-origination rate changed between crit, haste, and mastery throughout this fight. It was not always a single stat. It can show you your other buffs, what buffs you had, how long they were up, your benefit, your uptime. So like Righteous Verdict. In a sim for Righteous Verdict, it's getting about a 88.68% benefit. Whereas in reality, you probably won't be that. Where if you play very good, you'll probably be in the low to mid 80s, but realistically, you're not going to hit that 88% because again, this is the sim. But the sim plays better than you, so that might be hard for you to accept that you're not doing your sim DPS, but on average, the sim is doing the rotation a lot better than you.
Yeah, if you outperform your sim, it's because you got a result better than the median, the mean.
Yeah,
that's
you
possible.
just had better than average RNG, basically. Like, yeah, your damage breakdown should look about the same, right? But end of the day, most of the time you're looking at a patchwork fight where the hypothetical sim player got to sit there and run a script and hit the boss and do literally nothing else. There's nobody yelling in their ear in Discord or running at them with fire or anything like that. You know? So, and obviously, like, looking at that HTML file is not like necessary most of the time, but it is nice to be able to poke around at something like that and answer questions for yourself about like buff usage and trinket usage and, you know, even stuff like the re-origination ray. It's all there. So
Yep.
yeah, do we have anything else on the list?
I think that's pretty much it, no?
At this point, we're kind of going down the rabbit hole of like teaching you how to learn for yourself, which can seem really overwhelming. Hello?
Yeah.
We just had nothing to add to that.
Like if someone has any questions that they want to ask in chat,
Yeah, feel free.
or if you asked a question
I
earlier and it
saw
wasn't
a
answered,
really interesting question
go
in
ask.
chat. Actually, it was.
Oh no. Go on, Torres.
Listen, he wants to know if double ret will be viable on battle for Desaro.
I mean, if you believe, Torres, you
Probably
can
in
do it.
some guilds.
There's a devilishly handsome fella in chat who asked a question about that. Yeah.
SMB said maybe 5. Maybe 5.
Mhm.
Minded that wisdom does not stack anymore.
Oh, I know what we forgot. We didn't do our nice little let's take a dump on Blizzard section, so we're gonna do that now.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna go back to my guide for a moment. On my guide, I have this little.
I know exactly what to talk about.
We have this little bug tracker section, and what like the main change from Legion to BFA is that our free spenders, like from Divine Purpose, they stopped giving us stacks of Crusade and things of that nature. And we weren't really sure if it was a bug or intentional. And it went on for long enough that we just finally accepted the fact that it was intentional, that they didn't want our free spenders to increase the damage of some of our abilities by too much. But then Blizzard took an absolute dump on that idea on 12.19 with their patch notes. And Relentless Inquisitor Azerite trait now benefits from free cast caused by Divine Purpose or Imperium Power. Our Crusade now benefits from free Divine Stormcast caused by Imperium power. So now if you do use those free spenders like in your Crusade, or with your Relentless Inquisitor trait, they will give you stacks. But at the same time, let's say for some reason you are running Fire to Justice. If you use a Templar's Verdict or a spender with Fire to Justice, you will not get 3 stacks. You will only get 2 stacks still. So, first of all, they completely just ignored that talent, or they forgot that it existed. And if we extend this logic further, like what happens, like what's funny with Wings, if you use Imperium Power proc during Wings, the animation for the damage goes off, but it doesn't do any damage. Like, so, like, there's an obvious disconnect somewhere in the way that Blizzard wants things to work and how they actually work. And
it seems to be a case of like leak-in design where more than one person touch it, or just forgot, or there's not a set idea of how you want consistent behavior to work, where they fix one thing but forget other things that behave the same. Then you don't know what's the normal case. You don't know what's the intended behavior anymore. Like,
yeah, there's no like hard set rule for this. It's pretty obvious, which is really frustrating because it's just a crapshoot. You know, you should be able to look at something and know how it's going to work and how it's going to interact with this stuff. But stuff like this, especially in the beta cycle when there's a bunch of new stuff like that, it's just a small army of people getting onto beta, hitting dummies and bringing logs back and just trying to figure out one thing at a time how it works.
And this is even worse because not only are tooltips simplified to the point where players who don't do research outside of the game knows how things work, to the people that go on the PTR and figure out how things actually work aren't sure if it's intended or a bug or not. Like, we don't know if this is intended behavior.
yeah, and to make it worse, that was all due to communication, because Blizzard has never publicly acknowledged what their intention was. Until 11 days ago. When we got this post here.
But even then, like, you can't be sure because there's no coherent answer.
Here we go. It's like, here's a blue post from again, I have no idea how to say his name. So it says, knowing the philosophy behind the divine purpose Relentless Inquisitor interaction, I assume it's the same thing, but I'll double check. Since you aren't spending holy power, it shouldn't trigger the effect. So the damage is correctly not triggering, but the animation is not getting the message. And he made this post before the hotfixes went out. So the hotfixes come out, and it changed a bit, where it's not proccing the damage still, but it's now giving us stacks of Crusade. So I know myself, I did reply to this. I asked a few questions about that, like, so they've changed, like, so like now the philosophy of what they want to do is split. I know Soul Sacra here as well also replied, or like, so what are we doing here? What is the goal with free spenders and Crusade and Bygone B and things of that nature? Maybe we'll get an answer one day. But I doubt it.
I think they have to figure it out internally first, honestly. Like, we're not going to get a straight answer, and everything is going to feel misleading and all of that. We're just going to keep on wondering as long as they are, because there's no coherent rule, obviously.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to put their foot down and say, hey, class designers, hey, trait designers, hey, trinket designers, this is the rule here. And until that happens, this is just going to be something that is...
Yeah. I don't remember it being this bad to the point of developers or like whoever contributes for Simulation Craft having to implement bugs into the rotation to get actual value, like having to implement a DP bug into that doesn't chain proc. We didn't even know if that's new design or not. Like, we know it was consuming twice, but we didn't know, like, it was consuming before even being used, but we didn't know if, like, is this what they want? We had nothing about it until 8.1 it got fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, so just the normal Blizzard communication rant that we all have and love to go on.
Feels good though, just to get it out. You know, yell into the void.
Reminder that Divine Steed is never going to get fixed, and it's always going to bug out in tight spaces.
Yep.
Mhm.
Reminder that parry still exists, so if you're attacking a boss, and the boss's name is Zul, he turns to cast, you hit Templar's Verdict, you parry, then you press Wake of Ashes, and you lose all that holy power. Because you didn't realize you got parried because you weren't paying attention. Or if you're unfetted, you get knocked back into the wall, you press your horse, and there's no horse.
No horse.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because you clipped like a stem coming out of the.
Horses kill.
Makes
Oh,
sense.
don't get her started on this. Jesus Christ.
Especially fetid. I've gotten stuck in so many walls. Yeah,
Or
parry
the
boxes were
or
fixed.
the typical where you are immune to the knockback because you popped at just the time where you are immune to the knockback, but you still get knocked back with the pop for whatever reason. I hate
Don't even
fetid.
get me started. But yeah, I don't know. It just
I
sucks.
think
There's so many instances of that.
I think we've had enough of a little rant here and talking about things that Blizzard is not treating consistently and not communicating on. Haven't really seen any new questions roll in here, so I guess for now we will bring this stream to an end. Like all of our other streams, this will be exported to YouTube because Twitch deletes VODs in 2 weeks, so look in the description on the Twitch channel for the YouTube channel, and the video will be uploaded there sometime later tonight.
Oh, and just as like an aside, if you guys have like suggestions of stuff you want to hear us talk about, you can hit us up in Discord, or we have a Twitter. You know, however you want to reach us. Like, obviously this is fun for us too, but we do want like we want
Feedback.
the community to be involved. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, we are still experimenting with formats. This is the only third red stream. Whatever suggestions you want to see on stream, whatever stuff you want us to cover, especially with battle coming up, PM us there, PM Skeletor, PM let's involve the stream and just suggest things.
And also like we've done a few game nights, so like if you have suggestions for that. We need to get in more streams in a month so we can let you guys downgrade the resolution so people aren't but yeah, like it'd be nice to see this thing grow.
Alright, I just want everyone else to know as well that we do normally stream on Saturday. So, but our next Ret stream is actually not going to be on Saturday, which would be the 12th. We're actually going to have the stream on Friday, the 11th instead. It's because we're going to have Bolas on the stream. He can't join us Saturdays, but he can join us on Fridays. So we're going to make our next Ret stream a Friday stream so he can be on.
It'll be Saturday for him though.
It'll be Saturday for him.
in the
He's in New
future.
Zealand, but it'll be Friday for everyone else.
So yeah, it'll be good to experiment.
And I'll have that
with,
in the
like, different
schedule at
time.
the bottom in a little here. You don't have to remember that.
Yeah.
And also, next game night, Overcooked. Come on, guys.
I want us to all like each other.
Oh, I'm going to go all Gordon Ramsay on you guys.
Alright, that's our stream for now, though. Thank you
Happy
all for
New
watching. I hope you had happy holidays, have a happy New Year's, have a happy whatever you want. If you want to be happy that you're not happy, be happy about that, and have a good one.